Welcome to CareTalk. I'm Chris Campbell, founder and owner of Care Reps, a home health aide and certified nursing assistant recruiting and placement firm that assists home care agencies and facilities find quality caregivers for their organizations. Join me and caregiver guests as we discuss the latest news and trends in the caregiving industry. Let's get started. So we have Juliet here. Welcome, Juliet, and appreciate your time. Welcome.
Thank you, Mr.
Right,
Campbell.
Yeah, no problem. So Juliet is a home health aide. And how long you been a home health aide?
10 years.
10 years.
Yeah, I've been 10 years.
10 years. Okay. All right.
Yes. And I'm sure you want to ask what made me join this job, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's always good to hear or understand why people get into this profession.
Yeah, so back home in Ghana, where I come from, I used to take care of my grandmother. Like, I have compassion to take care of the aged. Mm-hmm. So when I moved down here, I'm like, okay, I researched and I asked around and I heard there was some like a caregiving job where you take care of older people. And I'm like, okay, why don't I just go to school and get into this, since it's something I love to do. I love to take care of people. I have compassion for people. So that's how come I started. And so far, I've been enjoying it, though I have faced, I mean, there's no smoothness in any job out there. Every job has its ups and downs. But that doesn't mean you should hate it or not. But I love it. Yes, so that's what made me join caregiving.
Gotcha.
Yeah, job. Gotcha. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. Okay. Sounds like from what you're saying, it can be rewarding, but as you said, it all has its ups and downs.
Exactly. Nowhere smooth. There are ups and downs in everything. I mean, this is life. Mm-hmm. You can't have it all. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But so far, so good. Yeah. It's not as bad as people portray it to be.
Gotcha.
Exactly.
Most people, when they're in this particular industry, they talk about a lot of the good things and how it's rewarding and everything. But I know you, and as you also said, it has its ups and downs. So
exactly. So this is what I tell people. So this is it. I mean, when you're going for the job, you know what you're going in for. It's not as if you were forced. It's not as if you didn't know what you were going for. You go for orientation. When you go to the agency, they tell you this is how the case is, this is how it is, blah, blah, blah. And you know, and you go for it. But the minute you go in and you see, maybe the patient is, dementia, has Alzheimer's, like they're giving you troubles, you start complaining. Okay, fine. There's always a change. If it's too much for you, you always come back to your agency and be like, okay, this is not what I expected, or this is more than what I thought it was. So I want to quit, or maybe you replace me or get me a new one. But when you're there and you don't do your job well and you end up trying to mess up the name of the agency and also not treating the clients well, I don't think it is right. Because you study, this is it. This is how they are. You knew it before you went. So you get people complaining, oh, it's like this, it's like that. I mean, nothing is smooth. Nothing is cool. This is our industry. This is how it's supposed to be.
Right.
Though some patients can be overboard, they can be overly, like they can be too much, but that doesn't make you not to do your job as a caregiver.
Right.
As a caregiver, you need to have compassion, regardless of the situation.
So let me ask you this, because you mentioned before that, if you get to a case and you find out that it's not what you thought it was. So before accepting a case, like how deep do you look to go as far as finding out about the case? And how do you also feel about, do you think when you get in those situations that there are things that agencies don't necessarily tell you or leave out? How do you necessarily feel about that? Or do you think that these are just things that folks just didn't know? Like, I guess just kind of your process as far as what is it that you look or you ask for or ask about so that you can be as prepared. And then
Okay.
in a situation where it's not what you thought it was, how do you feel about, you know, do you feel that's more the agency's fault? Do you feel like something that just didn't jive well? Like, what is your thoughts when you partake?
Okay, what I actually asked for is I haven't really faced a situation where they don't tell me the truth. Like you, for instance, it's not because I'm talking to you, so I'm trying to say something to please you or anything. I call it like I'm real like that. You and I have worked for some time now. You know how I say it. So I don't think they leave it out. But the situation is when you get on the job and things don't go well. Like there was this job you signed me to, and there was a problem with the client, and then they were trying to be like, okay, let's keep it. But the way you handled it, I was really happy. When I called you, you were like, okay, the person needs to go to the rehab. But other agencies will be like, oh, take your time, because they're looking at the money. They will lose that period. The client will be out. They will try to let you, the caregiver, do something that is way beyond you. Do you understand? But in your situation, you were like, okay, get this person to rehab. And he went to the rehab. He stayed in for some time. If it was other person, they wouldn't like it. But in your case, you're working for money, but you also have your caregivers at heart. Do you understand? You care about them, and at the same time, you care about the clients. Okay, so this is it. If hadn't been that this person hadn't got to the rehab, it would have been a different case altogether. So you trying to save your 3 weeks that the person is going to be out money than you saving a whole longer period. Which one is better? Because if he hadn't gone, maybe something would have gone wrong and you would have lost the case totally. Like, you know, it would have been a mess.
Right.
But in this situation, you were like, okay, let me sacrifice this. If it's going to go for a month or two, let's sacrifice it. And you spoke to me, and I understand. I mean, I spoke to you and you understand. But in some cases, the agencies, they don't care. They're only looking out for the money, because the client was like, oh, can't we do this? Can't we do that? But you were able to stand your grounds and be like, no, I think this is what he needs. And he got it, and he was better. Yeah, so sometimes I want them to also look at, when we say some things, they should believe us. Some of them, when you talk to them, oh, this is what I'm facing on the job, this is the situation, this is it, they don't really pay attention to you. All they care about is what they're getting for the clients. They don't want to lose the clients. So they don't really pay attention to what the caregiver is saying. Okay. Exactly. So if you are in doubt, it's always good to send out a coordinator down to the case and check what the caregiver is saying, blah, blah, blah. Rather than to save that moment, rather than staying and then things get out of hands.
Gotcha.
So in my points, when I'm going on a job, I want vivid explanation, and tell me what I'm going to face. Like, this is it. I'm not saying I'm not going to take it if it's where it's, like I said earlier, when this is what I studied, this is what I know I am going in for. So if I go and it's way beyond me, if it's rehab or if it's hospital, we'll have to take the person to, I'll just say, okay, I got on the job, Chris, but I believe this person needs this, but not just a caregiver. Do you understand? So if the person can go to a rehab or the person can go to a hospital, it will be better. I'm not going to work on the job, or I'm not going to say I'm not doing it.
So it sounds like one of the biggest things, and I guess the key point to take away from here is that, I guess, is looking for support from your agency. So
exactly.
It sounds like what you really appreciated was that when there was an issue, you came to the agency. In this case, it was myself, and we looked to resolve the issue. And it sounds like there are instances where you may say something and nothing seems to be done.
Yes, exactly. Because the client wasn't willing to do that. The client was looking at other means to take care of the situation, which the caregiver wouldn't be able to handle. But in some cases, they have been like, oh, you can do it, you can do that. But in your case, you are like, no, I think this is what the person needs. Because if you're telling me it's really worse, then the person needs this. And it helped at the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. So what are the things or some of the things that you feel makes a good client as well? So, because I'm sure, as we know, because there's two dynamics that, we always have to deal with or face, is that dealing with as a caregiver, dealing with the client, and then also kind of dealing with the agency. So you kind of spoke a bit about on the agency side, but what is it that, a client can do, or things that you may expect from the client that makes a good client versus a bad client? Because I mean, at the end of the day, they do, I'm sure as we both know, they do exist, both good and bad. So what makes a client good? What makes a client bad?
Okay, so the client in a situation, are you talking about the patient or the the patient family?
Well, you know what? That kind of all rolls into one, and that's even
Okay,
a different dynamic. And
because when it comes to the client, when it comes to the patients, excuse me to say, if the patient is dementia or Alzheimer's, the patient's, sorry for my word, the patient is not okay out there. So whatever you meet, you can't say, oh, this is a good one or it's a bad one, because as you're going in, this person is not okay. So sometimes they might be rude, sometimes they might be calm. But yes, but when it comes to the family is the problem, because some of them see caregivers as, I don't want to use the word, they don't respect us or something. They don't treat or talk to you in a way that is good. But I believe this is somebody that is taking care of your family, like it's personal. Do you understand? This is somebody that take care of somebody close to you, do things that you can't even do for the person. So I believe the person needs all the necessary respect, all the necessary attention whenever they say something to be done for the patient or for themselves. The person needs that. But a bad client will just talk to you in a manner that wouldn't be good. The next minute they're upset, they'll call the agency, so I want you fired, blah, blah, blah. Just a trivial issue that doesn't even regard calling the agency or, getting somebody fired. They do that simply because they've signed with the agency and they know the minute they say off, another person will come. So they just do that. And also when it comes to the patients, some of them, I believe, okay, it all boils down to, being a caregiver, there's a whole lot entailed. You are a therapist and also a nurse, like you have a whole lot to give. I mean, when you meet someone who is not good out there, there's a way you talk to them. There's a way you speak to them. The last job you signed me to, the man is always have issues. Like when he wakes up in the morning, sometimes he won't be in a good mood. So there was a day when his family realized he wasn't talking to nobody. Everybody left him alone. They just gave him his space. But there was a way I spoke to him and I was able to get what was wrong with him by speaking to him. Then he started laughing. Then his wife was like, who just laughed? I said, he's the one. And she was like, how did you get him to laugh? I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I spoke to him. I mean, there's a way you talk to them. Excuse my language. These people, they've grown. They're like babies. So how you talk to babies and you pamper them.
Right.
Yes, that is how you talk to them. Some of them can be difficult, but like I said, that is what you study. That's what you know what you're going in for. So the little you can do to talk to them, pamper them, like you're talking to a child, to get the best out of them, you do it. But when you realize you do all that and the person is always overboard, that is when you talk to your agency. I don't think this person have to be here. I think the person needs a nursing home, or the person needs a nurse, or the person, I need an assistant, or blah, blah, blah. It's always good to communicate. But some caregivers like to take things into their own personal hands. I think they get so comfortable. They do things on their own before they complain later on to them. When things go wrong or messy, that is when they get to the agency. But in my case, the first point of call is my agency before any decision is taken.
Gotcha. One of the things that you mentioned, I kind of wanted to touch on that a little bit, was that you said that you'll have some clients, and maybe this didn't necessarily happen to you, but you'll be with a client and then something goes wrong or something is off, and the client may call the employer, the agency, and they said, you're just gone. So, and again, I don't know if that's necessarily happened to you, if you care to share that.
No, it hasn't happened to me, but I've heard other issues, because sometimes the issue happens and maybe it's on the caregiver's fault, it's the patient's fault. That is when I also have a problem with the caregivers, because you're supposed to fastly report to your agency when the thing starts. I mean, you and I, you know me, I don't hesitate when it comes to reporting stuff to you. And I believe that is the right thing to do.
Right.
Not to get yourself in a situation where you can't come out of. Yeah, so exactly. And some family or some clients, they're really nice. They appreciate you for taking care of their parents, and they treat you in a good manner. Like the last people now, like they're good. Everybody have their good and bad side. Like nobody is 100%. There's a way you might see yourself to be good. Some other person will see you not to be good. So everybody have their good and bad.
Right.
What I do is I always let the good outweighs the wrong. Then you move forward. If you do that, life is going to be easy. So some other people do appreciate caregivers. Some other people too don't, because they know, oh, I can get a lot of them out there. It's just their nature. That's how they're brought up. I don't think it's only caregivers they treat like that. They just don't have respect for humanity. Yes, so it varies. So in such situations, when it happens, I always want the agency to support the caregivers. I know you guys, they want the clients, and that is where the money comes from and everything, but sometimes when the caregiver talks, you take time, you investigate, you send your coordinators down there to check what is happening, because the client is always not right. Sometimes too, the caregivers might be saying the truth, or sometimes too, it might be vice versa. So it's always good to get to the bottom of the situation before you get the caregiver of the case.
Right.
Yes.
And one of the things I try to remind people, in this business, as operating an agency, is that you actually have two bosses. I tell people that.
Yes.
And one of them being the clients, and one of them being caregivers, because at the end of the day, if both components aren't working or both components aren't present, you're not in business. So yes, so I always tell people I have two different people I have to answer to. So so it is well put that you put it that way. So you might have touched on it already. So if you want to repeat it or mention it again, that's fine. There's one thing that you could walk into your office, your agency's office, boss, president, director, whoever that may be, and just say one thing that needs to change that would, I guess, help you be more effective or be better at your or have a better experience working. What do you think that would be?
Okay, so in my industry, which is what we are talking about now, when the one thing that I can walk into my boss's office to your office to tell you that I need is maybe when I need suppliers, and maybe it's not supposed to come from the clients, but it's supposed to come from the agency, and maybe you place in calls and they're trying to delay. That's the one thing I walk into the office and be like, yo, boss, let's say, for example, I need gloves. Without gloves, I can't work. Can you guys make it available so that I can do my job better? Because it's really, really slowing me down. So when it comes to suppliers, or maybe my complaint, not complaint per se. Will I say complaint? I don't know the right word to use. It's not being
don't call it a complaint, it's an issue.
Yes, maybe an issue. Maybe there's an issue that needs to be addressed. Yeah. And it has to do with maybe, yes. I mean, you and I, there have been situations where I'm like, okay, I don't want a bad name for the agency. So, okay, I'm not, it's not good for me, but I'm going to sacrifice and do it. You know, you and I know. So yes, maybe when it comes to supply or things that will make the job go well, that will not bring a bad name to the agency and to myself, I'll just walk up and say, boss, let's do this. I think by doing so, this is going to make the job better for both of us.
Gotcha. Well, I would say, and I know that, you know, you and I have had some personal experiences working together. In some of the cases, and I guess it varies from agency to agency, is that sometimes with the supplies, and especially on live-ins, technically speaking, the client is usually supposed to provide a lot of that stuff. So a lot of times if there's a situation where, and you know, we try to make that clear to the client, and sometimes you have situations where they just slip up and as is like, look, we didn't know we were low and we're out. You know, I mean, that can happen in any household, right? You try to be with anything, right? You thought you had something and then you run out and, oh man, we forgot to get it. So, you know, a lot of times it kind of runs into that, you know, in that situation. So I know I personally been caught in that situation sometimes where it's like, look, we've made it very clear to the client that you know, they're supposed to provide the supplies, and then the caregiver shows up and they're like, I don't have supplies. So, you know, and it's one of those things. What do? Do you tell the client, hey, look, you got to run and get the supplies, but meanwhile, you know, the job still needs to get done. So, you know, that's kind of when an agency will kind of step in and say, all right, fine, we'll go ahead and we'll go ahead and we'll cover it and we'll take care of it. But I know personally, you know, there have been times where it's just like, all right, I'll go ahead and take care, because, you know, the caregiver standing there, they need to do their job and they don't have what they need to do the job. So, you know, you kind of step in, but, you know, prior to that, or we've made it clear to the client, like, look, you're responsible for providing this. Now, you know, if they don't do it, you know, and that's kind of what creates the issue for everyone. So, so I understand where some frustration can kind of come in with that, but understand sometimes even on the agency side, it actually kind of creates frustration for us.
Exactly.
Clients not doing what they're supposed to do. So, but you know, but it is what it is. So
it is what it is. Yeah,
exactly. Well, look here. It was fun, and I definitely appreciate you taking time out of your schedule to have a few minutes with us. And the whole idea is hopefully that folks will be kind of educated, specifically our agency owners, our facility operators, and just to kind of hear the other side and kind of know that, you know, from a caregiver's perspective, as far as what some of the issues that they face, and maybe you know, our facilities and agency operators can operate a bit better. So Juliet, I definitely appreciate your time.
Thank you.
Everyone, Juliet is here and available for work. So if it's something that you are interested in, live in, give us a shout, and we can go ahead and make some arrangements. So Juliet, thank you for your time. You have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you. You have a great day as well.
All right. Take care. Thanks.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks for joining us today, and make sure to follow us on our respective social media platforms for more content. If you're looking for help staffing your home care agency or facility, you can reach out to us on social media or call us direct at 201-992-0276. If you're a caregiver interested in joining us, you can reach out to us on social media as well, or call us at 201-471-6083. We look forward to working with you all.